I play C.G. Jung, and I kind of play him during the time that he spent at the Berkholzi Hospital, and to just sort of a few years after he left the hospital and started to work from his home, Kusnacht. So I think it spans from about 1902 to 1913. The words that we use today, introvert and extrovert, I mean, they're sort of things that we take for granted now, but back then, people didn't really think of that or sort of comprehend it. It was sort of like everybody moved as one lump, whereas he had this idea that you need to find yourself as an individual before you finally can sort of access your full potential. The fact of the matter is that he was just sort of open to really kind of anything, whereas Freud was very much set in one sort of form of psychology, this idea that all neurosis essentially springs from a sexual origin. And I think Jung has a problem with that. Jung looked up to Freud so much, but he's the next. It's kind of like Freud's own philosophy, he's going to kill the father and take over. And I think that for somebody like Jung, who was so ambitious and so driven, I think with both these characters, Freud didn't like to be questioned. She's troubled mentally, when she first arrives at the hospital. But what sort of takes him aback is, she's extremely intelligent, and she's also extremely brave and open. And he's starting this sort of talking cure, which he's sort of taken from Freud and has been reading a lot about this form of psychoanalysis, as we call it now, which was then called psychoanalysis. And he starts to use her as a sort of litmus test for this talking cure. She's very responsive and she's very eager and also very honest with it. So I think her honesty and her intelligence and her strength and the fact that she's beautiful, I think, intrigues him and puts him off balance, really. Here comes somebody like Otto Gross, who was, extremely seductive and also very, very bright. He is clear, his notes are very precise. He doesn't give many notes. We don't do many takes. He's very clear about what he wants, and that sort of confidence then sort of spreads down throughout the set. He's just an absolute sort of joy, really, and he has got obviously his work very methodically sort of put together, and he's very precise. But he's also got a great sense of humor, and we sort of, we had a lot of fun doing our scenes together, and the more sort of we did, the more fun we had. And it's important as well, I think, when you're dealing with heavy material and very serious material, that you keep a lightness about yourself in between takes, so then you can come to the scene with and you're a bit more loose and you're a bit more relaxed, and you can find then the little nuances within it. Keira's, I would say, well, for me anyway, definitely got the hardest part to play in this. She goes through such a range of emotions and mental states, and from day one she came and she sat down in the seat and she just went for it, and she dives in head first, and she's super talented and just really easy to work with. They're just, human beings, and doing things to each other that we all do. And they have the same sort of lusts and jealousy. And, there's a lot at play here with these characters. They were brilliant people, but then, with that comes, egos as well. And with egos comes a lot of other personality traits, that show themselves in various ways. it always helps when I put on a costume. You know, you sort of do all your homework at home, and sort of, you know, you're in your sort of tracksuit bottoms or whatever, you know, barefoot, and then slowly, you know, when you put on the shoes and you start to wear the shoes that the character wears and all this sort of stuff, you know, and the people had little, you know, intricate little things, you know, that like this, you know, like this sort of pocket watch, and there's a real elegance about the time. If these two men did perhaps get over their sort of quite sizable egos, perhaps we would have seen a more rounded idea of psychology and the human sort of mind, and it would have been interesting if they just sort of continued and being allowed each of their sort of opinions to sort of play relevance.